What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 21st episode of Trench Talk. I'm here with my two usual co-hosts, LTR and NRV, and we have a very special guest today, Raul. Raul, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
Living the dream, trying to balance my new job and also trade at the same time. It's been interesting, and also I have a bunch of vacations lined up this month. It was funny. I told all my groups. I think it was because the market was starting to look pretty trash, I believe 2 months ago, and I was like, guys, I got a new job, I have vacations planned, it's going to reverse. The market's going to get hot again, and guess what? It did. Missed so many runners because I was at a music festival, but it was fun. Yeah, LTR, how are you doing?
Can't afford to stay away.
Same boat, except school, midterms, everything, juggling all of that, it's hard. We'd all want to be on our 3 monitors with all our chats open, but, often I find myself, in class trying to sneak my phone when the professor's not looking, check my notifications, whatnot, is what it is. Blessed to be able to be here regardless. But, yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat you are, just trying to juggle that.
Valid. NRV, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Just extremely locked into the market. Current meta as well. The metas have obviously shifted quite a bit. I think going back to August and into early September, it was some really rough months for me, to be completely honest. Just watching the market tank and not being properly allocated liquidity wise to be able to essentially go shopping and buy the dips on a lot of the stuff that was just significantly mispriced. And after making that mistake and being a bit depressed, this game can definitely sway your emotions significantly. It's definitely been a wild journey back since then. We could talk more about that someday, but yeah, the market's hot right now. I'm feeling very locked in and definitely want to execute things the right way.
Valid, very valid. Well, Raul, would you be interested in kind of just giving a little backstory? We'd definitely love to hear it. Definitely is very interesting.
Yeah, so I can, you want me to give an intro of myself, a background?
Yeah.
Cool. So prior to crypto, I was a strategy consultant. I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers or PwC. I was in life sciences, healthcare, so a totally different, field from obviously what I'm doing now. Got my master's in finance while working, and then during COVID 2020, fell down the Bitcoin and DeFi rabbit hole. Started working for a family office, quit healthcare, pivoted to crypto full time. And after that, or during my time with the family office, there's a bunch of hedge funds that would come to us at the office to sort of, pitch and get our money as LPs. And I said, hey, I want to work for one of these because obviously they have other analysts where I can kind of bounce ideas off of them and learn from them and grow my network. So I ended up working for one of the funds. It's called Hartman Capital from Miami. I did a summer program. I initially was very interested in the tech, so I was the privacy analyst there, and I was analyzing different privacy projects. So that was cool, and then I discovered Cosmos as a result of the secret network, and then I kind of fell in love with the Cosmos tech and IBC, and that's when I learned about, at that time, was super cutting edge, was the cross-chain interop tech that Cosmos offered. And Cosmos had a pretty good run in late 2021 and 2022. And then Republic Crypto was another fund I worked at in late 2022. It's a bigger fund. And there I was doing research in DeFi and infrastructure and really everything. It was one analyst that was kind of taking on all segments of the market. It was a lot. And I've just been also investing angel checks on the side because I'm part of various investment DAOs, where I was. Now I don't invest much, and I'm just purely liquid trading. Also, I am the co-founder of Shogun. So Shogun is a cross-chain intense protocol. Our first product is going to be a cross-chain trading app that's in Telegram. You could trade any token on any chain, but mostly it's memes right now with a universal account. So it's chain abstraction, gas abstraction, wallet abstraction, and it's in Telegram. We're going to have a mini app and all that. We were incubated by Binance Labs, and we have trading KOLs like Kobe, Ansem, Arthur Hayes, well, I mean, Arthur Hayes, I don't really consider a trading KOL. But anyway, so yeah, also running operations for a VC project. We raised 6.9 mil for 69 mil FDV back in May. And yeah, I'm a meme coin trading enthusiast. I've been trading meme coins for, I want to say 2.5 years, because, we can get into this, but, I picked up a lot of the don't do's or things not to do while investing in this space while working for, crypto institutions. So yeah, I'll pause there. I know I just gave a lot.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And I mean, hey, you know what? Why would you invest in legitimate products when you have just actual legitimate coins like memes? Look at that.
Yeah.
Who would have thought the elite cycle? But
Yeah.
I don't blame you. I think everyone kind of believed in the tech at one point. I do think we one day will get back there, but I mean, especially right now and just the past year or two. I mean, it's just memes is the game. That's where the current all the money's being flown into. So you might as well just focus and allocate your time there.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds me a lot of sort of the older cycle of 2017 and before, where the thesis was always super simple. I mean, I think Murad has done a very good job in kind of bringing that awareness to meme coins, but more so I see him kind of applying the same principles he did with Bitcoin and really how the communities were in 2017 or 2 cycles prior, where like DeFi is very complex for most people. I just never saw normies kind of coming in and playing around with options protocols or complex yield farming Ponzi's, or if they did, they would be on the wrong end where they're getting rugged like most people did. And for example, the Ohm forks and Ohm protocol itself. And here it's now with meme coins, it's very similar to kind of that, I don't want to say vaporware, but that sort of speculation element, like Cardano. For a while, Cardano had not shipped for years, but they sustained a very big valuation because there was a cult-like leader kind of at the helm talking about the tech, and people believe that this is going to be life-changing. Same thing with EOS, right? Who I forget that guy's name, but the way he talked, he was like, this is going to change everything fundamentally. And yeah, you just had this almost delusional type of belief system that people bought into. And yeah, it created large bubbles. And I kind of see meme coins in that same light, where it's a super simple thesis that resonates with a lot of average users. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's.
I was going to say, I think it's really interesting hearing your background. You obviously have a ton of experience in different areas, a lot of which tie into this space. Personally, I had worked with different private equity, venture capital, hedge funds and investment banks around tech stuff, which included blockchain prior to my time in this space. And I think there's a reason why we brought you on the pod, and it'd probably be good for us to underscore that so people understand who you are and why it's exciting to talk to you. And when we do that, I think what I'm hearing with your background is it's not a mistake that you've had some of the success that you've had. You're very dialed into the space, and I think it's also impressive that you've clearly seen some trends with where some of your wins have been, before they've gotten to true viral, mimetic, insane positions, so to speak. So I think it'd be interesting to talk about that if you want to also talk about what those wins were, why you're a notable person to speak to, and maybe how you saw some of the things that you saw before they actually exploded.
Yeah, for sure. So if I could take a step back, like you guys mentioned, we're all in it for the tech at one point, right? And that's how I entered the space. But you quickly realize that, so sort of that bell curve. So last cycle, I faded Cardano and Doge and everything. I saw Doge and Cardano at very cheap valuations. I saw Doge at well below a penny. I saw Elon Musk tweet about it, and then Mia Khalifa, and then all these celebrities started jumping in, and I faded it the whole way because I'm this has no fundamentals, it has no utility, it has no value, right? And I missed out on a lot of money because I was sort of like, I had that strategy consulting background, and I'm like kind of just sort of trying to rationalize with numbers and data and, utility. And then about a year and a half ago, it kind of all started to come together. And especially when I was on the last fund I worked at, Republic, I had this manager who had come from the TradFi world. He was like a traditional hedge fund manager, and I'd be writing like 14-page investment. It was basically like equity reports, but for DeFi tokens. And at that point, I was pretty seasoned to understand that, hey, like this space moves so fast, and it's not all, but the majority of it is speculation, and it's all momentum and narrative driven. And what they had asked me was, we come up with like 10 assets that we can hold comfortably for 2 years, because their mandate was, we got LP money, and we're gonna lock LPs in for, I think it was 2 or 3 years. And so like they just kind of wanted a long only, but they needed things that they could hold that were fundamentally strong for a long period. And as soon as they asked me that, it was like the first week on my job, I was like, shit, like there's nothing in this space I would hold for 2-3 years besides Bitcoin and Ethereum at the time, right? And like Solana was like dead. So that, yeah, and then they just have me do all this analysis. I wrote like a 14-page report on Sushi Swap and like Lido, and but as I was doing that, I was like, man, like we are so far apart from our sort of approach and philosophy. And I ended up like sort of quitting on my own after a few months, because I just said like, yeah, like you guys aren't going to make, in my head, I was like, you guys aren't going to make any money doing this. And so, yeah, like all that sort of experience of missing out on those gains last cycle because I didn't think left curve enough. And just seeing how these institutions are always late to the trend and how they think, and also simultaneously being in different trenches and chat rooms with unemployed like sort of miladies who are like unhinged, sort of that whole spectrum of different trader profiles. I understood that like those guys who are sort of deep cut, not known, they're not really commercial. They're the ones that start the market trends, and then they grow bigger, right? And that's especially true in the meme coin space. So yeah, like that's where it all started to come together. And so some of the big wins I've had this cycle, I don't even know if the cycle started, but let's just say this year in 2024, what I saw was, for example, so like with Mudang, there's also a problem with the current structure of the market where you have a lot of these KOLs who are...
You're going to talk about PvP?
PvP, yes.
Yeah,
very
dude.
PvP.
Oh my God.
And it's like, okay, so I was baffled with, you could have bought Mudang under $1 million for, I want to say a week. I have to go back and look at the chart, but it was a long time. And it was a long time.
It was a while.
It was definitely a while.
Yeah. But dude, you just had to do a little bit of research where, hashtag Mudang. And this was before all the sports teams and random like government agencies and like anybody and everybody started talking about it. And, any organized entity started tweeting about Mudang and using it for engagement farming. It was well before that. I saw, I would search hashtag Mudang on Twitter, and I saw these like South Asian, like whether it's Thailand and that Southeast Asia area, where people were just organically love the hippo. They were like, I would give my life for Mudang. I would throw hands if someone tried to hurt Mudang. And so like that was without any financial incentive. They just really thought the hippo was cute, right? And so I went in heavy because it was so cheap, and I saw no one on Twitter talking about it. So I went in pretty big. I was patient and like sort of held through the volatility in the beginning. And then you had all these sports teams and like government agencies and all these like consumer brands using it to engagement farm, and that's when I knew like, all right, well, first, honestly, I bought it with when I saw the Southeast Asia region, those fans like Mudang fans talking about how they would give their life for this hippo. I thought it was, okay, like at least this could be a Billy sort of 250 mil market cap type of play because it's a cute animal and like we've seen many cute animals do well in the space. And like if no offense to anyone holding Billy the dog, no one knows that dog. It's just a cute dog picture, right? But
I agree.
yeah, with Mudang, like at least you had that entire Asia region talking about it. And so I was like, all right, like this is a no-brainer. But then it got way bigger, and you just had all like UFC and NFL teams and all that, right? Tweeting about it. And then I drank the Kool-Aid a little too much, where I was like, okay, this is the next Doge. It could be the next Doge, or it could be the next Pepe. But yeah. So what I noticed was it was in that like $5 to $20 million range for a while too, right? And still, like at one point, like you had all these sports teams tweeting about it and major consumer brands tweeting about it, but still none of these so-called KOLs in crypto that people look up to were mentioning it. And so that that kind of proved my thesis of like this is for the most part a very rigged game where you have KOLs that are tipped early and like they probably all have like chat rooms where they're in it early and like they make sure that they're in it like sub 1 mil and they have like at least 1%, or they're paid by teams to shill, because it was kind of egregious where it's like, hey guys, like literally the entire world is fucking talking about this hippo and none of these crypto natives are really talking about it. Like, and I don't want to name names, but there's a few where it's like, hey, your whole thesis is cute animals, right? And still that person has not talked about Mudang once. So, I kind of like sort of saw reality there. But, I knew that people were going to cope and like sort of capitulate and get in higher. And I think that's what ended up happening, which is why we had that squeeze up to 300 mil. And then I have like sort of more, because I became one of the largest holders, I have more to say around like the corruption of sex listings and, but I don't know if, we'll see. If I feel inspired, I'll.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really interesting topic to get into. Also, like on your comment about like the KOL stuff and people that just chose not to mention it. It's obviously because they didn't have bags and whatnot, but
yeah,
I think it is pretty telling about certain people in the space when they're acting in certain ways, whether they try to vampire your coin or promote a PvP late comer, so to speak. It's just like there's a lot of gross behavior in the space, and I think that you should anybody listening should just take note of what you see in circumstances like that, whether it be Nero or Mudang or other coins, like even with GOAT's success recently, different KOLs forming vampire attacks by making their own AIs that just came out of nowhere, It's just it's pretty gross behavior. One thing I wanted to ask you about in regards to Mudang, I think Mudang coming out definitely caused a lot of people to pay a lot more attention to search trends, like TikTok trends and whatnot, hashtag trends and whatnot. Like there's been a lot of posts lately on Google Analytics around just the search trends, how relevant Mudang is, and comparing Mudang to, I think Labubu was one, if you remember that.
Yeah, I'm in that one.
Were you like privy to those trends and leveraging that as a research tactic prior to Mudang at all? Or,
yeah, absolutely. That's
because I think that's an underutilized thing. Well, obviously people are starting to do it more. Is there like anything you could talk about and how you were doing that, or maybe best practices?
Yeah, for sure. So I always think like, I don't know how many people are on chain, for like we have our crypto native bubble, right? Our CT bubble. And like, there's a lot of guys and girls that have been around for 3 years, but it's just the same capital that's sloshing around, rotating. So I always look for things where it's like, where is a marginal buyer going to come in, right? Otherwise, like, you just understand intuitively this market dynamic or this market structure. Like, for the better part of this year, coins will top at, like on Solana, like it was really hard for coins to go past 100 mil. Like I was in Costco hot dog, and I rode that from 150K market cap to 100 mil, and I hit 100 mil twice, and I didn't sell. But I've like Aura, like there's plenty of coins that I was in early, and I was like, oh, this is gonna go 500 mil, and it just wouldn't. It would just top out at 100, and just kind of like die. And so that it dawned on me that it's just the same sort of traders sloshing money around and dumping on each other. And really, there's not that much of an influx of new users on chain, right? And maybe this has changed now with Moonshot and sort of the more bullish conditions of the the rate easing, the rate cut cycle, and China easing. Maybe there's more now in like this past month. But for the better part of the bear market, that's what we were dealing with. It was like the same 1,000 traders in the room, kind of going back and forth, right? PvP. And so yes, that I've always looked for viral trends where. And why I did that was because I knew that eventually we would be in sort of a bullish mania phase. And what are these guys going to buy when they come into this space? Are they really going to understand Harry Potter or Vomasonic Inu? Like, they're going to look at that and be like, what the fuck is this, right? Like, I don't know what this is. Or I'm just trying to think off of like Murad's list. There's plenty where I was like, yeah, I don't know. This is a very crypto native cult. I even still think SPX... and me working in finance, like I get it, but I just don't think like normies are gonna be like, oh, like this is an S&P 500 meme. Let me go buy this. Like they're probably gonna buy something like Skibbity Toilet or Mudang because they're familiar with it, right? I'm not sure how many people even like care about like the S&P index fund. Maybe you have all these like people on Wall Street, like investment bankers and whatever, right? But that's still a very limited pool of capital versus a cute hippo that literally everyone knows and talks about and tweets about. So I saw an asymmetry there is what I'm saying. And I saw that asymmetry with Skibbity. Skibbity, I've been buying and holding since April. And so I have a public wallet. It's called shogunfucks.soul. And in that there's 4% of the Skibbity supply, and I haven't really sold any. But yeah, like I've patiently held that with the same thesis where, this is the most viral meme on the planet, that Skibbity Toilet, right? And eventually, when you have this huge influx of retail, and we're in that mania phase, knock on wood, hopefully it comes. But when it does, like I'm positioned accordingly because I know what their psychology is going to be. They're going to think, oh, like I love Skibbity, like I watch these videos and like there's billions of views. So why not get exposure? And you can say the same thing about Zyn, right? And that took a while, right? Like we all bought Zyn very early and we were too early and we have to sit on our hands for 2 months because it was dead. But even then, I think the push up of Zyn was probably just crypto native capital. People that know how to use a wallet and they've been kind of like doing things on chain, and like it just happens to be that most of them use Zyn, right? But Zyn does have that 1 billion plus potential because a lot of the current generation, people our age, they are using this product. They're in love with it, like they use it every day. So they are going to think, oh, why not like buy into it? Because there's some emotional connection or familiarity. So yeah.
You could say they're addicted to nicotine if you want.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I certainly am.
Yeah. That's actually, I want to say that's like it gives you an edge. I forget the word now, but
nicotine? Like it's a nootropic?
No, like that.
Oh,
like people use like L-theanine and what is that called again?
The buzz, bro.
Yeah, well, it supplements to like help them stay sharp.
Yeah.
That's L-theanine. There's a lot of like focused nootropics now.
Nootropics, that's right. Yeah, so nicotine is a nootropic.
Yeah, no, I mean that's definitely very interesting to hear, and I mean, yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think how I went about it and how I'll explain how I miss Mudang, is I'm still kind of in my old little self of during, kind of like the weaker market and, a lot of it was just like kind of figuring out who was launching what. And as of recently, that tide has shifted to where like, oh, like I really don't necessarily know. Obviously, I think people like normies bought Mudang, I think. Mm-hmm. But I'm still not exactly sure if like a lot of new people are coming into the space. I'm hoping that, my big thing is I think people will see like these massive P&L plays on Twitter and they'll say, damn, I need to get into crypto. Because personally, that's what I saw, and that's how I got into crypto in 2021. Yeah. So I do think they're coming, and I do agree if you're like, a normie's not going to buy fucking Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic Inu. Probably they're just
Right.
not. I
Yeah,
agree that it's most likely to be something that's more relevant.
exactly. Yeah. Like one of my tweets recently was in before Elon's eventual skivvy toilet tweet, more likely than a Spurto, right? Because yeah, like no one knows what the fuck a Spurto is beyond just us sort of crypto native traders, right? And that's like, so I really like what Murat has done for the meme coin space, and his like philosophies. Like I agree with a lot of it. And I think a lot of people share this opinion. I don't think a lot of the coins that he actually has on his lists are actual cults, right? Like a lot of them tend to be crypto specific. And so yeah, like he never had Mudang, or even like he just started adding Skibbity Toilet, and it took him a while to do that, and because it met all the metrics that he uses for like quote unquote cult coins. So yeah,
I also
like that,
think
yeah.
like there's another great thing is like I'm just gonna say personally, like us four, like we're all successful, I would say, in crypto, and it's really cool just to hear multiple different takes and multiple different ways of trading within the meme coin space. For me, like I was super late onto using the social media wave. There was a team that I knew that was making coins that were really, really good at it, and they were able to find trends really early, especially the past year. And that's something I never really grasped, but I mean, it's obviously paid off and led to some amazing gains. So it's just cool just to see. You can always keep learning. Keep trying to innovate and keep trying to up your game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you have to be super locked. I mean, I think managing a liquid book and especially in this asset class is probably the hardest job in the world, just because how fast things move. And so, if I can get into a little bit more about what else I saw the last 2 months, like so yeah, I saw Mudang, and
If you could also add some of like the detail around the trend research, I think that'd be interesting too. Like
yeah,
like tools that
absolutely.
you use. Like, are you just using Google Analytics? I know there's like some paid TikTok tools like for businesses and whatnot. I'm just not sure like if you're doing anything interesting that others aren't.
No, I think it was like super simple. I actually saw recently, like I used to use Nansen 2 years ago. I haven't like opened that app up. I signed up for like Chain Edge to see what smart wallets are doing, but or tag smart wallets. But it's super simple so yeah, it is like, Google Trends, and then also just on Twitter to see what people that aren't trading memes are actually talking about. Like, do they genuinely like sharing Mudang memes? Or, like in the case of Mudang, yes, like they just loved how cute the hippo was. Or, amongst like the Gen Z, Gen Alpha crowd, it's like you can just tell that they watch these Skibbity Toilet videos. And it's like the most viewed series on YouTube and TikTok and whatnot. And there's no financial incentive there, right? And so, yeah, anyway, so what I was going to get into was, so I saw Mudang, and then I kind of apply my core investment principles of, all right, this is the leader in this meta, right? And I mean, like, it's an animal coin. So it already worked. Like animal coins are kind of proven in this space, right? Like you've had like Whiff go to whatever 4 bill, so and then like Billy go to 250. So I just kind of like went heavy just based on that. But and like you had all these like viral news outlets and sports teams all that tweeting about it. So there was another one that came around after, which was Pesto, the penguin, right? But I knew that was second, right? Like it came on second after Mudang. It was tweeted out by Time Magazine and BBC News, and sort of the same. I saw the same pattern play out that I did with Mudang, but on a lower scale, because it's not like you had normies. Like you had some normies talking about, oh, like this thing's a unit, it's a big penguin. Is it cute? It's not as cute as Mudang, and yeah, it didn't have that like organic community, but it was getting a lot of news coverage. So I knew it was going to be a beta play to Mudang. So I went in heavy with that, and this was my best trade. I went in really heavy around like 1.7 mil market cap, and I exited most of my position from 16 mil market cap to 23 mil market cap, because I knew like the top was going to be like 25 mil, and it went to like 30. But in my head, I knew the whole time that this was going to be a beta play. And then you just saw a lot of tweets around, oh, this is going to follow Mudang. I also knew it was a cope Mudang play. Like a lot of people miss Mudang, so they went heavy in pesto.
Can I interrupt and ask you a question about that?
Sure.
I think you said something really interesting there. Like you knew like it would be a beta play, and you had a specific set sales strategy. I know a lot of people in this space will. I don't know why this became the number, but a lot of people will look at beta plays as like potentially capped at roughly 10% of the market cap of the leader. Mm-hmm. Was that a thought in your mind? Like, did you have a specific percentage compared to the leader in mind? And like, how did you choose like, okay, I'm going to exit around here? Like, did it seem to be topped out, or did you feel like you had like a set like cap number in mind?
Yeah, so it was a combination of that, where you mentioned like that ratio of 10%. But at some point, like Mudang, the pesto to Mudang ratio was like 20%.
Okay.
Which I guess like tells you that it was even more overvalued.
Yeah.
But there's also these like psychological levels that you just kind of learn about, right, as you just spend time in the charts and trading.
For sure.
Which is like whatever, 5 mil market cap, 10 mil market cap, 25 is the other one, and then 50, 100. So I knew like, all right, 25 was the number I had set because I think Mudang was like 100 mil, so I guess that's 25%. So yeah, like it wasn't, because Mudang at one point was 310 mil, so I wasn't like, oh well, this is gonna float around and stay at 31 mil. I just knew that it was gonna also hit that 25 mil threshold, and likely like just get a huge dip. And so I was like, well, this is a beta play anyway, so I just DCA'd out all my pesto around there. So like that was probably my best trade start to finish. Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, sorry. It just hurts hearing this because like I've fumbled all these trades. It's been a rough past 2 months for me, but it's also like it's good just to hear insight on it. And I do agree with the there is certain limits, like kind of obvious places, honestly, to sell coins sometimes. I will admit, then there's also. I personally think there's the opposite side of. There's a lot of times I think something's topped out, and it will be a local top, but then it will just rip up like crazy. Because I remember Mudang personally. I thought like 25 mil was kind of like that was it. I thought that was over because it kind of did sit there for a while from my remembrance, I believe. But man, it just ripped itself a new one up to there, and that caused a lot of cope.
I guess like the essence of the Mudang trade, or even the Skibidi trade, is the asymmetry between mind share outside of the crypto bubble and within the crypto bubble, right? And so eventually, I would think that that sort of attention is going to trickle itself onto the blockchain, and it's obviously going to have like a tokenized form. And so that's what I saw in Mudang, and obviously Skibidi. I've was kind of waiting patiently since April, and it finally like the last 3 weeks has had its like parabolic run.
Yeah, we've got this. We have this friend. His name's Bobby. Shout out Bobby. That talks a lot about the mind share to market cap ratio between coins, and some of them are just so outsized in the wrong direction. Meaning like they're undervalued, like significantly undervalued. And I think that finding those has obviously been a strength of yours if you find them early. Like the mind share on this is insane. The market cap is way too low, clearly underpriced. Maybe it's not going to happen this week or this month, but eventually it really could. Maybe not should, but it's a really good bet.
Yeah, it's a good.
And I think finding those is a really good thing to look into.
Yeah. For sure, and you're playing the probabilities, right? Like what's the upside, downside, and what is the probability that this mindshare does translate into mimetic token value, right?
Not to shill my own bags, but that's why I've placed such a big bet on JoeCoin for over a year now. I mean, they've got crazy mindshare on socials, on Twitch, and that Rizzler kid is now working with Welch's, and they're going to be on fruit snacks in front of kids around the world, or the country at least, I guess. So the mind share is there. I feel like it's still undervalued, but another example.
Definitely. And yeah, I was big into all of these, like Joe and the real Smurf cat, whatever. in 2023.
Yeah, it's another one.
Ethereum. Yep. Like Apu's one. I personally like because it is the most used meme in crypto. Like it's a crypto native meme. I know it originated on 4chan, but for the most part, like that crypto native crowd is mostly using Apu. So yeah, that's it's a very simple approach, but obviously one that that you can find an edge and well, not edge, but asymmetry, and then yeah, if you get in early, like you can really.
So where do you think we are cycle wise? Like you kind of like mentioned earlier, like, oh, this cycle, or I don't even know if this cycle's really started yet. Like,
Yep.
I guess forward looking, like, what's your thesis going into elections, and like where do you think the market's gonna like head towards through the end of the year, and like also like what's your vision for 2025?
Yeah, so I think, and I don't necessarily like to make past market structure comparisons, but like they say, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes. So we are in a rate cut cycle. So the debt cycle is expanding. We're going to be expanding debt. That means the Fed is already sort of they're making it in the environment where it's favorable for growth. Like China is easing at historical levels. Like they're almost having their like sort of COVID 2020 moment with the amount of liquidity they're injecting into prop up their stock markets. And so if you look at the price of Bitcoin right now, it is fluctuating near all-time highs, right? It's kind of chopping around, but it's chopping around near all-time highs. And we're at the start of the rate cutting cycle. And so if you look at 2020, 4 years ago, we were in a similar spot where Bitcoin was like, 10, 15, 18K, around that all-time high from the last cycle. And then, yeah, like the Fed had started to, stimulate, or they were cutting rates, and they were also stimulating. And so yeah, like we're in that same structure where, because we're at the beginning of the rate cut cycle, and we just had the halving, and Bitcoin is at near all time highs. That tells me that like we're gonna go up only for about a year. Like sure, there's gonna be volatility, but I definitely think like it's gonna be a risk on environment. And with crypto specifically, it's not just the U.S. market. So I know there's been a lot of debate around, oh, if Kamala wins, this is going to happen. If Trump wins, this is going to happen. I think that matters a little bit in the near term, but in the long term, I don't think it matters because, yeah, like that, you also have like China that is injecting a lot of liquidity, and they're going to come on chain and they're going to buy Bitcoin, as are other nations. So it's not just necessarily the U.S. market. Of course, the U.S. is a big participant, and even then, if Kamala wins, I still think I don't think like crypto's it's going to be a setback, but it's not going to kill crypto in the U.S. I don't see that.
Have y'all seen so as a professional political expert here, my
Political
news
correspondent, anonymous.
Yes, my news source, my primary source of who is winning the election is a Poly Market, as it should be, and Trump is starting to pull away on there.
He's not though. I think that's just CT bubble. Like honestly, I have a lot to say
Damn
about
it.
this because
That would make sense. That would make a lot of sense, dude.
like
Shit.
I think people are vastly underestimating how much mind share and how many voters Kamala still has. Like I will say that I am not a Kamala fan. I'm not even a huge Trump fan, but I would like Trump to win fiscally because it'd be great for all of us, right? But I will say I'm from a very liberal state, and they love Kamala here, like they do, and I don't think CT sees enough of that right now. And I think the race is a lot closer to 50-50 than people think, especially on Poly Market. I think those odds are way out of whack. So I think it'll be interesting to see because, like, obviously Poly Market is pretty much just a percentage of the popular vote, more so. And obviously our elections don't work like that in the U.S. So I think it'll just be interesting to see. Honestly, I'm gonna really watch this election. But I think you buy dips anyways, regardless of who wins. Like if we dip on a Kamala win, I think long term, I mean, we're still gonna go up. Market's shown his hand, like Rahul was saying. Yeah.
I think both candidates have kind of shown that like they
gotta
want
pump it,
this
bro.
to grow. They want this to grow. And,
I think they're scared of China taking over. Like, I think that's really where it comes from. I'm not joking. Like, I think, we've shown, like, okay, we really messed up as far as, like, manufacturing in the U.S., and now crypto is potentially the next, like, huge industry. And so if we're just going to give up U.S. hegemony, then I don't think they want to do that. So and it's in their best interest to foster growth in the U.S., but we got to get Gensler out if we want to do that.
Did you guys see Kamala talking about designing favorable crypto policy for black men to protect them from, like the crypto markets?
I did. Interesting thing about that is it just reminds me of, like, COVID stimmies. Like, I don't know, like, where's that money coming from? Like, cool, you want to support these people? Like, great, but, like, where's that money coming from? And that's just, like, always my question with anything like that.
I told my community, for the Shogun community, that now I identify as a black man.
Yeah, give me some free money. Give me some free dough.
That's crazy, bro.
I'm going to gamble it, dude. 100x parlay. That's probably what's going to end up
identify
happening.
as whatever you want these days, so... Yeah, go get
why
it,
not?
dude.
Why not? Free money. I need a new bike. Like, come on.
Jesus.
One thing that I'm not great at, because I don't want to keep hyping myself up. I'm not good at selling, which works.
Ooh.
It works. Well, I just talked about the pesto trade, which was my best trade. Because I sold, I got in early and I sold everything near the top, and I don't do that often, So I think we can get into that.
I think selling is the hardest thing in crypto. I think that's just execution, right? Like, I mean, I deal with that a lot as well. Like, I'm in so much stuff early and I buy so much stuff early, but then it's just I think a lot of times I buy things without theses, and that's not a good thing. I mean, it's okay to play volume and whatnot, but the real big trades happen when you have a thesis and you trade whether that thesis gets invalidated or not. Kind of I mean, it's kind of like being a perp trader. You have your setup and you have your stop loss, and then even if you're in the red, or in the green a ton, if your thesis is still valid, then you don't end the trade. And I think obviously it gets way more complicated with liquidity and stuff, especially on Solana. I mean, look at Goat. Obviously, there's DLMMs and stuff we can't see, but it's 3 million lick for 300 million market cap. So it's just really interesting to see. I think it's psychology a lot, and I need to definitely get better at it as well.
I think there's probably a lot of similarities between my trading and his, as far as deeply researching things, establishing an extremely strong bull thesis, and truly committing to it, having conviction. And there may be moments along the journey where, whether it be through PvP or FUD wars or whatever it may be, where you have to kind of look inwards and have to ask yourself, okay, did my thesis change? And ultimately, if it hasn't, then you probably keep holding. And sometimes it's tough because coins do top, and traders do just treat coins, even if it does have a great thesis, the wrong way. But yeah, I'm very good at establishing conviction and really leaning into that. That gets me into large wins, but executing the sale it's a challenge. I definitely lean a lot into using LPs to farm fees, but also to exit large positions of size when volume is good, as kind of a way to DCA out without hurting charts. I think that's an underutilized tactic in the space. But yeah, I think you definitely have to take each trade completely separate from one another, and also really think about what the thesis was that you initially established, but that also evolves over time as well, because it can become stronger, it can become weaker in specific moments, and you just really have to think about things changed here for me.
I think one of the hardest parts about crypto in general is that we always see our P&Ls. We always see our tickers. We always see our profit and loss. Whereas one person explained to me once really great. It's if you own a house, right? Your house's value, your profit and loss on your house essentially fluctuates a lot every day. That's like a stock ticker on your house. It just above it, your house is worth 800, your house is worth 900, your house is worth 700. But people don't see that, so they don't get stressed about it, because they're oh, well, unless they get their house appraised literally every day. But in crypto, we're getting our houses appraised every second. You know, we refresh our Trojan, we see our Bybit P&L, and I think that like learning, I don't know, utilizing tactics to hide that, or I don't know. I find like often if I'm holding something and it's like not going well, but like I really believe in it, I'll like go walk, you know, I'll go play basketball or something just to like get away from seeing that P&L, whatever it may be, whether it's big green or big red. And I think it's just a psychology thing. And so I think eliminating the tickers you see, especially on things you actually have a valid thesis in, is essential.
There's something interesting. So, like with Mudang specifically, I still think it's going to be a $1 billion coin, right? And why I think that is because I've seen, as recently as like WIF and PopCat. If you look at the PopCat chart in particular, it's had multiple 80% drawdowns on the way up to a billion plus, right? And so, yeah, like holding through that volatility, keeping that conviction, that's one side of it. But then there's this new dynamic, like you guys were mentioning, with the PvP, where, you have these like vampire attacks. I don't remember this dynamic, like in last cycle or previous times. Like, this started with the Neuro wars.
It's definitely new.
So even I don't know like how this is gonna if these exchanges are gonna be corrupt and list sort of the cabal ones on ETH. And even Vitalik tweeted about Mudang ETH. I really didn't like that. Like I'm pretty sure he knew like this is basically like a vampire attack, and he's gonna give them attention, and it's gonna fuck up the Solana one more, right? I would figure that like he knows that, and he still did it. But yeah, like I think and the issue is with these pump fund coins. Because it's fair launch, it's not like it's organic, especially Mudang. It didn't just like the one on Sol. It didn't just come out and just rip right to 300 mil. It was more like it kind of hung around in a low market cap. And so anybody like myself, who I'm not part of any cabals, I got in and I just went based on my own thinking and thesis, right? But now like you have teams that run into issues where they don't, and these exchanges are used to being paid. There's certain exchanges that need like $500,000 or $1 million, and the community can't get together and gather that because they're all like new money. They're rich now because of the coin, but it's not like they didn't plan this out, right? And they don't have earmark supply, and so this, and I guess like I already mentioned the coin, but Mudang, it's all listed on perps for a lot of the tier one exchanges. But Spot has been way too slow. And then you see all this other garbage that is being listed, and it's not nearly as viral. It doesn't even have that much volume compared. Like Mudang with like Spot listings on KuCoin and Gate, which are like tier 2, tier 3, it still does like 100 mil, I think, even recently as like today. And at one point it was doing like 200 mil, right, in total volume without a single Spot listing on a tier 1. But still these exchanges are stubborn and like they want to feed because they're used to that, they're used to that type of going about their business that way. So that's an interesting dynamic. Like usually like last cycle and traditionally meme coins are launched by some sort of like a core team that's got a earmark supply for these things, but pump fund tokens, and I think GOAT is also right, pump fund. So I think they might also run into that issue.
Same with Fog. I know Fog on Solana. Like they have a huge community, great token. Like the CTO team that's leading that, I have massive respect for them. I don't even have a bag, but like they're doing a great job. And I think they're doing it right without, they're not a cabal. They're just kind of like an art and great community. But I know I've heard that they've run into a lot of problems because they are a CTO, so none of them really hold that much supply to be able to shell out to these MMs, to be able to shell out to these massive T1s. And so despite them being like a top volume on Solana every day, like they're doing more volume than a lot of centralized exchange coins. Yeah. It truly is like it's just an interesting dynamic. But I think we're getting to the point where centralized exchanges just don't matter as much. I mean, we're seeing Moonshot. Hopefully, we're seeing like people just like ape stuff off Trojan and whatnot. So I think eventually it's gonna become pretty moot. Like I think we've already seen a lot of. I remember exchange listings used to be like the most bullish thing in the world back in the day. Yeah. And while they still are great and they're still essential and they're still bullish, I wouldn't say that they have the same power they once do. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you guys saw a recent announcement by MoonPay Well, first of all, like you can even Shogun, our trading app, we're going to be integrating MoonPay, so you can do direct fiat on ramp. But MoonPay came out with a tweet earlier today talking about how now you could trade crypto directly from your Venmo balance, and so like that's also big in the U.S.
Oh,
Right?
that's sick. That's a
Yeah.
huge integration.
Absolutely, yeah, and so yeah, I hope like all these things kind of take get more traction, and so we're not reliant on the bureaucratic processes of the tier one sexes that we've been used to.
Yeah, I think whatever you build with Shogun, like being able to have to benefit the crypto natives, but also be able to easily bring on new people as well. Having that balance will be just really really great for y'all.
Yeah,
I'll be completely honest. I hadn't really even heard of Shogun prior till I think I saw like your Soul. I know it's not called an ENS, but like I saw your wallet,
yeah.
and I think I had looked into you before knowing who you were, and I think I had discovered it then. Somebody was like, "Oh, he's the founder of this." Didn't really look too deeply into it. I think I clicked on the website, but hearing you speak about it a bit here, it sounds like it's something worth looking into. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's great to learn about you on here, and we have no issues with you like talking about your product or shilling it or whatever. Like if you want to talk more deeply about it, this is probably a great time to do so.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, actually, we had closed one of the best seed rounds, in my opinion, just based on the backers. Like, so we covered all bases. So we were incubated by Binance Labs. Our me being a degen, rotating capital all the time, I knew like the biggest use case in crypto is speculation, and people are always like jumping from one ecosystem to another. But in that process, you run into issues that even crypto natives find difficult, such as figuring out how to bridge, setting up new wallets, making sure you have a gas token. Like you could, like for example, like if you see some dog coin running up on Sui, which is the case right now, you have a lot of memes ripping there. If you haven't been on Sui yet, it's going to take you a bit to figure it out, and you could probably like miss out on a couple plays that are ripping, right? And so yeah, it's that like whole issue of the fragmentation of infrastructure, right? And that's what we kind of set out to solve. And now they call that chain abstraction, is like sort of the VC term. And so yeah, we were incubated by Binance Labs for that. And then we got a seed round investment from Polychain and Delphi and Arrington, so a bunch of large institutional VCs. And then more so the trading KOLs like Kobe, Ansem, Avi Feldman. And these are guys that I looked up to last cycle, right? And especially Kobe. I was very happy that we got Kobe on the cap table. He's not really that active this cycle, but for me, like that was crypto Jesus. Like he would just be spot on, and like the sort of trends he'd be very early to. And he would kind of point things out of, this is going to happen, and it would. He would come back to it like 8 months later and point out like it played out exactly. So yeah, I think very highly of Kobe. I also think he has a great character and a lot of integrity compared to other KOLs. But anyway, so yeah, we just closed a stellar round back in May, and so what we have now is we have a closed beta of a cross-chain trading app that has a universal account in a Telegram UI. So right now we got mainnet Solana, like Ethereum mainnet Solana, Base, and Arbitrum. You could literally type in the ticker, like you could go Skibbity, and it's like a really slick UI where it tells you how much do you want to buy or what do you want to swap it for. It could even be like cross chain, like Skibbity to Brett on Base, and then you could do that with any of the tokens you have in your accounts across chains. So you could buy Skibbity on Solana for ETH you have hanging out on Arbitrum. So yeah, it kind of abstracts away all of that sort of bridging and wallets and gas tokens. You don't have to fumble around.
How is the infrastructure for that specifically? Like, are you leveraging your own wallets on each side, like your own like quote unquote LPs for your platform, or are you leveraging a bridge integration as well, or
yep,
like how does that work?
So we have our own routes and our own API, as well as we use what's existing already, like dBridge. So we're an aggregator of aggregators, and we also have our own custom like indexing and routes for specific tools. Yeah. And
what's the deal with the closed beta? How do people get in and stuff like that? How long does it last?
Yeah, so you just register, and I can provide the link somewhere, and I'll definitely provide it to you guys. You register, and then we whitelist you, and then I think we're going to open it up like next week. So we're adding more and more users to make sure like the system can handle it, right? Like we don't want to add everyone at once. But yeah, so you register, and then we can whitelist whoever asks for it, and we've got pretty good feedback. And how it differentiates from the existing Telegram bots, there's two things. The first I kind of talked about, which is like that universal account where you can trade any token on any chain. Within that sort of UI, like for Banana Gun and other bots, they're either single instances or like there's a Banana Gun Soul, which is like a separate channel and a separate UI, right? You have to switch. That's not the case with us because we have a universal account. And then security-wise, we're using Turnkey, so we do not store, like we don't have access to the private keys. Like there's another security infrastructure provider called Turnkey, and it's pretty secure. So like yeah, like the Shogun team cannot access the private keys, which I can't say that's the case for other Telegram bots, and that has been an issue, and that's why Telegram bots initially, the convenience of it was great, and like Unibot really took off, but once they got compromised and there's been other hacks, people have been kind of weary of putting a lot of funds on there. So. But yeah, if your Telegram does get compromised, like your Telegram app itself, then the wallet, like that wallet is in the Telegram, then they could, mess with it. But there won't be any other attack vectors.
Yeah, I've always been like specific about generating my own wallets for bots like that, and then putting them into the Telegram itself. I guess
you could do that too. But yeah, like when you create a account, it generates it for you.
Yep.
And then you could import your private keys if you want.
I think Anonymous had a question or something to say. I just wanted to like throw this in really quick just for our listeners. If they wanted beta access, is that something that they should like have a way to sign up for? Like if you want to throw anything like that out?
So we have, so part of the Shogun, we obviously have a product, but we decided like let's open up a sort of like alpha chat where it's the general public. So we got two channels. We have this general channel where it's like bot support questions if you have questions around the bot or if you're running into issues. And then we have another channel that's alpha, right? And so like there's a lot of sort of there's some prominent traders in there, and there's like average, random traders, but we're all kind of sharing. It's like kind of like a hangout lounge where we talk about trading, we talk about different coins, and the whole goal is like hopefully they execute using the Shogun app, right? But yeah, you could join that chat. You can also DM me on Twitter at TopJeet or TOPJ 2 3s and then a T. Also the Twitter account, the official ShogunFi Twitter account. Any of our community or our community lead or any of our other co-founders, you could reach out to us. So yeah, you can get in touch with us through Discord, Telegram, our Twitter accounts, and you can DM me directly too.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely link everything, and I'm definitely going to check it out because I'm very interested in the cross-platform just through the Telegram bot. I don't think there's something like that right now from what I currently know, and I think it's something that'd be super useful, so I'm definitely going to check that out. But anyways, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here.
Yo, BTC is ripping right now.
I was gonna say,
Let's go.
Raul, we gotta invite you back because
I agree.
Crypto is first, it was great talking to you, sir. It was really nice meeting you as well. But also, crypto's ripping while you're talking, so we're gonna have to keep you coming on as well.
Yeah, it's a good omen.
Sure. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. You're a smart guy. Congrats on your success. Definitely sounds like it didn't happen out of nowhere, So you've earned it. Congrats on wins. Keep going. Just learn how to sell though, all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm working on that myself.
Yeah, learn how to do the impossible, dude. Come on, learn how to do the impossible.
Sorry, what did you say? Learn how to use Excel?
I learned how to do the impossible.
Oh, impossible. Okay. Yeah, I recently put out a tweet with like expected value and probability and stuff, and I realized later I did the math wrong. So I thought I heard learn how to use Excel.
That would have been fucking funny. But alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Raul, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
See you later.